Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our Kingscrowd Capital Portfolio Pitch Showcase. We're really excited to be here with you all. For those that don't know me, Kingscrowd Capital is our pioneering venture fund built specifically to deploy capital into companies raising capital via equity crowdfunding. Our fund is a quant-driven fund, and it relies on our rating algorithm, which has a 1 to 5 rating score, to identify the opportunities we will consider for investment, which must be a 4.0 or above on our rating scale. Our goal with our fund is to invest into 100 companies out of our fund, with 59 investments already made to date and 2 in reinvestments as well. We think these are some of the best and brightest founders actively raising capital via equity crowdfunding. And we are so thankful to have an opportunity to highlight some of our recent additions to our portfolio. If you like what you see today, I want to remind you that you can invest into our fund via AngelList, or if you are non-accredited, you can follow our investment strategy by becoming an Edge member. And for those who don't know, we provide a top deal rating on Kingscrowd for all Edge members, which reflects when we make an investment out of our fund so you can follow the fund strategy. And lastly, be on the lookout for some exciting news later this fall as we launch our new fund product that we can't wait to share with you. So with that, let's get on to the show and welcome the Kingscrowd Capital portfolio companies pitching today. But first, I want to say a thank you to Andy Ervin, who is the Deputy CIO of Alumni Venture Partners, for being our sponsor today. If you weren't able to join our last session, I highly recommend you watch back Michael Collins' keynote to learn more about Alumni Ventures. But thanks for joining us, Andy, and glad to have you as a judge on the panel today. If you don't mind, let's bring Andy on up here and have him intro himself, and feel free to share a word with everyone about what you all do at Alumni Ventures for those who weren't on the last session before we dive into our pitches today. Let's see. Hey, Andy, nice to see you.
Hey, Chris. Nice to see you. Thanks for having me today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, very glad to have you on, Andy. So, Andy, give us a little rundown about Alumni Ventures before we hop in here, and a little bit about yourself as well.
Sure. Yeah, I'll start with Alumni Ventures. So we are a retail-focused venture capital firm, making venture capital simple for retail investors. We are a highly active venture firm, so we're doing about 200 to 300 deals every year. And our key kind of differentiation is that we are following top-tier investors into rounds that they're leading. So we will co-invest alongside Khosla, Andreessen, Founders Fund, some of the more prominent names out there. And we leverage the vast network that we've built through these various alumni groups to access these deals. So we're able to bring top tier, very high quality deal flow to our individual investors. My role at AV is I'm the deputy CIO there. I've been with AV for about 8 years, and I've really been mainly focused on building the investing infrastructure at Alumni Ventures. So with the volume of deal flow that we have, the global presence, we have offices in Boston, New York, Menlo, Chicago, and we're expanding to Tokyo and London. There's a lot of coordination that goes on behind the scenes, and making sure that we are leveraging all of our teams with a consistent approach to our diligence process, consistent approach to how we support our portfolio companies post-investment. There's just a lot of coordination that goes on, which I'm kind of the lead for.
Terrific. Well, Andy, thank you for being here. And a couple things that I took away from the keynote that I think are most important to say are: one, top 20 venture returns in the United States. That is nothing to slouch at. And two, the fact that folks can partake, if you're an accredited investor, typically starting at $10,000 minimums. Venture funds are typically not raising from anyone that can't put in at least several million. So this idea that there's now a democratized fund and syndicated deals where you can invest at these extremely low minimums in top tier great investments, I think is really, really powerful, and something that if you have an opportunity to partake, you should certainly take a look. So thank you for being here today, Andy.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, sure thing. So in terms of run a show here, we're going to have 5 founders that we've backed at Kingscrowd Capital recently. They will be pitching for 5 minutes each, and then we will follow up with some questions from Andy as well as the crowd. So please do drop your questions into the Q&A along the way as they're pitching so we could try and get to as many of them as possible. And one other thing, we are unlocking all reports on all the companies that are pitching today. So as long as you create a free account on Kingscrowd, you could go to the resource section, which will be right here in the Zoom on the bottom bar. And you can check out the links to all of the pitching companies. So with that, I'm going to welcome up our first founder and give them the floor. And that is going to be Siren Biotech with Dr. Nicole Paulk.
All right. So thanks, you guys. So my name is Dr. Nicole Paulk, and I'm the founder and CEO of Siren Biotechnology. And prior to this, I was actually a professor at UCSF in biochemistry and biophysics. And I'm actually going to share a little bit with you guys today about how we are now transforming some of the deadliest cancers into treatable diseases. So someone is diagnosed with cancer every 1.7 seconds. If that feels fast, it is. If that feels unacceptable to you, welcome to the mission of Siren. So at Siren, we're actually developing a brand new type of cancer therapy where we're combining two previous types of cancer therapies into a brand new modality class. So the first is what we call viral gene therapy. So engineering viruses to deliver genetic medicines. So we can engineer viruses. You can think of these as little engineerable FedEx trucks where we can engineer them to go anywhere we'd like in the body. In our case, we want them to go to tumors. And we can have them deliver any type of medicine we'd like. In this case, we're going to have them deliver these proteins called cytokines. These are anti-cancer proteins that your body already makes, already knows how to use, but that just need a boost at the site of the tumor. And so we can combine these two things and create a completely new modality class that we're calling AAV immunogene therapies. So we needed to point the ship at a particular cancer type to start, and we actually decided that it was really important to start in brain cancer. So brain cancer is a solid tumor market with a massive unmet medical need. There's about 26,000 Americans alone that are going to receive a brain cancer diagnosis this year, and the average survival of the most common form in adults and the second most common form in children is a survival of only 1 year. So a huge unmet medical need in this space. But how do you actually test a drug that is meant for humans before you are allowed to test it in humans? The answer is you make humanized mice, where you can take a tumor from a human patient. You can engineer it to glow like bioluminescent algae you've seen in the ocean when you were on vacation. And you can take those glowing human tumors, transplant them into the brain of a living mouse to create a glowing human tumor that you can watch in real time with special imaging. I'll show you on the next slide. And then you can come in and actually look and treat with your drug and look to see whether or not that tumor responds to your human drug. And so I'm actually going to show you a video here on the left. So that's one of those special humanized mice on that imaging platform. And we can hit that mouse with the blue wavelength of light, and in a proportional manner to the size of that tumor, it will reflect in that red wavelength. So if you have a small tumor, you'll get a small amount of red light. If you have a big tumor, you'll have a large amount of red light. And so you can actually see that on the right of this slide here, where you can see those two mice on the left have very large human tumors in their brain, and those two mice on the right have smaller tumors. And so we can see in real time, are these tumors responding? Our drug that we're calling Siren 101, you can actually see the results of this after just 2 weeks of treatment here on the right, where we can basically completely eliminate these mice of their human brain tumors. But we've treated far more than just 4 animals. We've treated well over 600 different types of mice, pigs, all these types of things. If we represent all of those animals we've treated to date with these little schematics you see on the slide here, and start the experiment clock with the controls on the left and the treatments on the right, you can see how many animals are alive at 3 weeks, at 8 weeks, and at 12 weeks. And by just 12 weeks, all of the control animals we have ever treated have perished from their brain tumors, but a full 86% of all the animals we have ever treated are not only alive, they are thriving, they are functionally cured. And if this time point of 12 weeks in mice were to hold into humans, this would be the equivalent of 20 to 30 years. So it would be a massive improvement over the 1-year survival that these brain cancer patients have now. Where are we at on the path to patients? We are right about to start human clinical trials. We are submitting our final data packet to the FDA this December and should have the green light to start dosing patients in January. The brain is just the beginning for us. We have a lot of fun data and additional solid tumor cancers that we're going to announce at JP Morgan this January. And the brain is really just the start, and it's a massive market on its own. So our first indication alone is valued at about $3.2 billion. And folks have the chance to join our existing marquee investors, so groups like Founders Fund and Lux Capital, with our open community round. So if folks would like to scan the QR code, they can learn more and ask me questions there on the platform. But thanks so much, you guys.
Exceptional. Thank you so much. Andy, do you have any questions you'd like to ask?
I do. Thank you, Nicole. This was a great presentation. First of all, I love the focus, starting off with brain, makes sense. I love the simplicity of the science. I know there's very complex details behind the background, and so explaining it the way you did, perfect. My question is around the funding and the milestones that you have to achieve. In med tech, biotech investments, it is a very easy area to put a lot of money to work and have that go on forever.
Yep.
And so,
I sit on like 30 scientific advisory boards of publics and privates, so I know that journey.
Yeah. So it's a difficult space to invest in. So my question is, can you detail the discrete milestones that you plan to achieve over the next, let's call it 2 years, and how much capital you expect to need to achieve each one of those?
Absolutely. So in the near term, like single digit quarters, basically we've got our IND filing this December and then getting the IND open in early 2026. And then we start our combined phase 1/2 trial. So we actually got permission from the FDA to do exactly what you were hoping, right? To try to find ways to shortcut these very, very long timelines that are often experienced in biotech, usually $2 billion of capital that's needed to bring a single drug to market over the course of 15 years. So we purposely went after rare orphan brain cancers. All 125 brain cancers are rare and orphan. So typically you are eligible for accelerated approval, which means you can often skip your phase 3 trial and have your phase 2 trial be pivotal and registrational. And we wanted to go one better than that and combine our phase 1 and our phase 2 into a single combined phase 1/2 trial so that we can shave off even more time and not have a gap between those 2 trials. So we still start dosing our first patients in 2026. We've got approval to dose somewhere between 18 and 31 patients. It kind of depends on how many patients we see of different sizes of tumors, these types of things, but basically getting that phase 1/2 trial data as quickly as possible. So we've got cash to bring us through about Q4 of 2026. And so next year we'll start raising our Series B. We've already raised about 32 million to date in dilutive capital from groups like Founders Fund, Lux, these groups, and about another 6 million or so in non-dilutive grants from the state of California, from the National Institutes of Health, these various groups. And next year we'll start our Series B to finish the raise for the entire phase 1/2 and to advance some of our next programs that again we'll announce in January for some of our additional solid tumor cancers. But for us, it's basically heads down, get that clinical trial, get to the first data readout, which for us, the nice thing in the brain, it's actually quite fast. We get data readouts just about every 6 months. So unlike, thank goodness, a breast cancer trial where these trials can be very long, 8 years in the brain, each trial portion can, it's like 16 months. So these are very, very fast trials. So you're not looking at surrogate endpoints. You can get the entire trial read out with things like overall survival in a meaningful time frame. So the entire phase 1/2 should read out in about 2.5 years. So it's a little bit more like a tech timeline than a biotech timeline.
Great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Excellent. And one question from the crowd here, and then we'll keep rolling. What is the competition in this space? I am an ER doctor and I have invested in Siren, but in spreading your word, I am getting numerous other companies shared back with me, especially in solid tumor treatments via various vectors.
Absolutely. So we are the only AAV gene therapy company in the cancer space that are going after solid tumors. So from that perspective, from a modality and kind of technology perspective, we own the whole moat. There are other viruses, but there are no other AAVs. We are the only non-oncolytic virus going after any solid tumor cancer, much less brain cancers. In the brain cancer oncology space, there are many other groups going after different types of brain cancers with different modalities, whether it's monoclonal antibodies, whether it's CAR T cell therapies, all these types of things. All of these are going to have challenges. The challenge with all brain cancers, not just gliomas, which is our lead indication, is that these tend to be very, very heterogeneous tumors, meaning there are many different cell types that compose these tumors. And almost all of these technologies, antibodies, CAR T cell therapies, they bind to little chemical flags that sit on the surface of these cells. And there is no one flag that defines brain cancer. So you cannot have a single antigen. Those are the names of those chemical flags. There is no one single flag that defines solid tumor cancers of the brain the way that we have it in blood cancers. And the other big challenge with brain cancers is that those little chemical flags, those tumors can just cut them off and drop them, and now you have nothing you can bind to. So all of these antigen-dependent technologies, things like antibodies, ADCs, CAR T cell therapies, I think are going to have and will continue to struggle in the brain in a way that Siren's technology will not be dependent on.
Phenomenal. Well, thank you, Nicole. Thank you so much for what you're building. Siren Biotechnology is one of our latest investments in the Kingscrowd Capital portfolio, and we feel privileged to invest alongside you guys. So thank you, Nicole. And next up, we have Stephen Forte from Build Club.
Build Club, we're bringing AI really to the fold. We're bringing AI to end users to solve a big problem we see of really changing web software to make it work for people. So web tools like Salesforce, Slack, QuickBooks, what have you, they're very rigid platforms that don't allow people to make any changes to software. The customization requires costly developers, a lot of detailed programming APIs, IT infrastructure. They can't really be individualized. And companies also spend billions of dollars bringing their customers up to speed and, frankly, their employees up to speed. And having tutorials and things for their software can make a big difference. So our solution, how we're applying AI, is through a browser extension builder. So our software actually lives in the browser itself. An AI-powered no-code extension that allows individuals or IT departments to essentially customize any website. So think about all the things you always wished you could see on your Gmail or in Salesforce.com or HubSpot, whatever platform you might use. And all of that can be done inside your browser. In addition, we have the ability to add an overlay to the screen itself. So companies who bring onboarding for new employees and have been sending them to YouTube for videos or PDF files no longer have to do that. You can actually build a screen overlay simply, easily with no code and allow employees to see the instructions directly on the screen. Our software itself works with almost every platform out there that people use. So it's extremely versatile to allow people to create this type of customization that's really never been available before. And we call this workflow augmentation. So we've all heard of workflow automation, which is really automatically, in many cases, removing jobs. It's automating things that people did. In our case, we talk about augmentation, and that's the ability to use AI to empower employees and individuals to make their experience better, faster, easier, and just frankly, make their lives much more comfortable. So how does this work? So we have an AI-enabled browser extension that, again, lives inside your browser. You're able to highlight web components on the page of any website you're on and add capabilities from other websites or public information as you see fit. And best way to explain is, frankly, show you an example. So here in the case of Zendesk, our tool is simply adding a tooltip. If you wanted to add an instruction on this website for your employees as to what sort of information actually goes in this field when you're onboarding, you can select the type of component you want to add, drop it onto the site, add the details that you'd like to have, and voila, you have an online tutorial for all of your employees. Obviously, you can add many of these throughout the page, add information on a sidebar, and actually soon we'll have the ability to import the entire user manual for your software and publish that automatically and make all these suggested edits. Right, so it looks like we had a little technical difficulty on both sides. So let me go back to that Zendesk example just to show you. And it looks like we might have missed a bunch of other slides, but I think I can send those out. So in this case, we're adding the tooltip functionality I had mentioned. So here we're able to pull into our system here and go ahead and drop this in as a tooltip into Zendesk, add this component so you can put whatever sort of information you want to get your people up to speed. And then you have a chance to roll right through and fully customize your onboarding for any employees that you have. So we find it a super powerful way to create this kind of overlay simply, easily with no code. The example I was going to show briefly here for Gmail. So the ability to then, anytime you get an email from an individual, if you wanted to see, in this case, any of the associated records in Salesforce.com, simply type in your prompt into our AI builder. We'll reach into your Salesforce account, pull out the relevant information, pull it up in a separate component here. In this case, we want to organize it into tabs, make it look a little better. And now you can simply place it into the page, and it looks like it's a seamless component of your website. So we think we can really democratize the customization of software. We see our competitive advantage to really being part of that browser layer integration, the ability to bring in significant amount of backend data for some of our existing extensions. We poll as many as 10 billion records a day in the retail space. Very context-aware AI, and we think we have a first mover advantage in really enabling the browser this way. We have existing products in the market. We have a price finder extension that's available to millions of shoppers at Home Depot, Lowe's, Amazon. For different components, we show the best prices. We have a version that also uses for independent hardware stores, and it's quite well rated online. So why invest? Was we have about 6 million raised already from VCs, strategic angels, and a bunch of start engine investors. 20 from Kingscrowd, which is great. We're happy to be there. And grants partnerships with all the big software companies. And we're currently live and scaling with some of the applications that we have. And it's kind of rare to see no code development opportunities open to individual investors. And we really wanted to democratize all that. We've been on Start Engine for a bit. Matter of fact, our campaign's closing in November. And we'd love to talk to anybody who's interested in our space. And I know we may have missed a few slides in the beginning. Happy to share that with anybody after.
Thanks, Stephen. Andy, any questions?
Sure. Stephen, thank you for that. Very innovative use of AI. I like it. My question is mainly around your target customer. So can you give us a little bit more detail on kind of your go-to-market strategy, the type of end user, end customer that you're targeting? And tell us a little bit more about your traction to date, how many customers you've brought on board.
So in our current phase, we're working with 5 main early stage customers, and this is B2B enterprise play. So the predominant concern they have, we're working with, matter of fact, we're talking to a carrier in Canada, as a matter of fact, a company that activates cell phones. So they have hundreds and hundreds of employees in retail stations. Not only do they have to onboard them quickly, get them up to speed on how you do activations online, work with their CRM, work with the carrier's activation website. So the kind of help overlay is a massive game changer for them of the kind of retail rotation that they have in staff. And the second part is our ability to automate. So in one case, when they activate with wireless carriers, the wireless carrier forces you to use a particular website. With our extension builder, we can take all of that information that's used to activate on the carrier and seamlessly integrate that into their CRM and ERP systems, which today is all being typed twice. It's all being double entry. So we see our first real play in the market is the B2B play, and that's allowing these enterprises to build these things quickly, do it in a matter of weeks, and very inexpensively compared to what you might have seen in the past in the development world. So it's really kind of letting AI hit the ground running and doing some very useful tactical things in the field.
Great. Thanks, Stephen.
And Stephen, can you just talk a little bit about, I know you made a fairly significant pivot away from kind of being really focused on the construction sector. What did that pivot look like? What was the driver of that? And from a monetization standpoint, how is the business model holding up kind of post-pivot?
Yeah, we originally focused actually building a kind of on-demand delivery of building materials and created these web extensions to be like a price finder, like you might see with our existing product. So we collected a ton of data. We built some amazing extensions for the market. And we frankly had such interest on these extensions and what we were doing on the digital side, we decided to frankly stay away from the delivery of physical items, not get involved in that, and actually commercialize our technology. Sometimes I like to liken the story to the birth of Slack, really, where it started as a tool for a gaming development company. And when the game didn't work, they went back to their VCs and said, hey, I've got a couple of bucks left, and we have this really cool messaging tool our developers use. Should we try to productize it? And our story was very similar. We found so much interest and so much intrigue in the technology we had created, and adding, of course, the recent developments in AI, that we could develop a tool that's far more interesting, scalable, and frankly profitable as a SaaS company than we would ever delivering product or even just providing those other commercial extensions in the market.
Got it. Excellent. Well, Stephen, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here today. And if you want to check them out, you can check them out at Start Engine. Next up, we are going to have Josh Cohn from EndoSound, who will be hopping up here in a second. And just a reminder to everyone, you can click on the resources tab at the bottom of the Zoom link here of the video space that you're looking at right now, and you should be able to see all of the links to all of the reports for each and every one of the companies that is being featured today, so you can read through why we decided to invest. So definitely check that out. Josh, nice to see you. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So yeah, feel free to share your screen, and the floor is yours. All right, I can see your screen.
You can see the screen? Fantastic. Yep. All right. Well, first and foremost, thanks to Kingscrowd Capital for inviting me here to be here today. We're thrilled to be one of your portfolio companies and thrilled to be here alongside such other distinguished pitchers. At EndoSound, We're redefining access to one of the most powerful tools in all of gastroenterology. It's called endoscopic ultrasound. So what is endoscopic ultrasound? It combines standard video endoscopy and ultrasound to create a more detailed analysis of a patient's GI tract. It's a vital diagnostic and therapeutic technology used for evaluating diseases of the GI tract like the esophagus, the stomach, the liver, pancreas, and gallbladder. It plays a critical role in detecting cancers, cysts, and other conditions earlier and more accurately. But today, this technology is out of reach for far too many. The problem, traditional EUS systems are expensive, cost prohibitive, and large and bulky, costing hospitals, again, upwards to $500,000, requiring specialized rooms, and often needing a dedicated staff. That means access is largely restricted to academic medical centers, large urban hospitals, and a technology that should be everywhere is in practice available only to a fraction of the patients. The solution is EndoSound. We've developed a groundbreaking innovation. It's a system that converts any gastroscope to a fully functional EUS scope. It's modular, cost-effective, and designed to integrate seamlessly into existing workflows. With our solution, physicians can perform EUS in an ASC or ambulatory surgery center and community practices. It requires no dedicated room, no massive capital equipment, and no compromise to image quality. In essence, we're democratizing endoscopic ultrasound. Here are just a few things that some of the KOLs, key opinion leaders in the space have said. We're redefining how diagnostic and therapeutic EUS is being done in the hospital setting and ASCs. We're the future of EUS in Latin America, and it's the future, a true disruptor in interventional endoscopy. But don't just take it from our key opinion leaders. We also have the validation from some of the highest sources. We've received significant validation through the FDA's breakthrough device designation. This is a recognition only given to technologies that offer a significant improvement over current standards. In 2022, we also received Innovation of the Year from our two largest societies, the AGA and the ASGE. After FDA clearance, we did receive transitional pass-through code from the CMS. This accelerates adoption through additional reimbursement. And last but not least, we've received investment from our largest GI society, the American Gastroenterology Association. But this isn't just about cost, it's also about health equity. This is a map that shows US healthcare accessibility by state, with the dark showing the worst accessibility scores. Access to life-saving diagnostics like endoscopic ultrasound shouldn't depend on your zip code, your income level, or whether your hospital has a seven-figure capital budget. Right now, too many patients in rural and underserved communities are left behind. They wait longer for diagnosis, travel further for their care, and often face worse outcomes. But at EndoSound, we're changing that by lowering the cost and the footprint of EUS, making it accessible in ASCs and community GI practices across the country. And globally, the opportunity to leapfrog legacy technologies is even greater. So what does the current market look like? Today, there are 700,000 EUS procedures performed annually in the United States, and almost all are concentrated in hospitals. But by enabling procedures in the ASCs and community settings, we can take meaningful share from existing providers while dramatically expanding the market. So how do we expand that market? Well, video endoscopy provides a partial examination. It shows you access to the esophagus, stomach, and the duodenum. This is what's called video endoscopy. We unlock the potential to bring EUS into index endoscopies, or the first-line scopes done for dyspepsia, abdominal pain, or surveillance. And we allow them to have a more thorough, complete examination at the same time. So we take 700,000 procedures to millions, and from an elite tool to a mainstream diagnostic. So you can see here on the right, standard ultrasound with our device provides the physician with the opportunity not just to see the esophagus, stomach, and the duodenum, but behind all of that, the liver, the gallbladder, and the pancreas. So in closing, we're a team with demonstrated success. We're revenue generating in 17 sites across the country. We're creating greater access for patients. We're reducing the overall cost of healthcare by moving these procedures to more affordable settings like an ASC. Physicians are more efficient, spending more time in a more efficient setting. We're poised to grow the EUS market substantially through echo endoscopy. We're VC backed. we're society backed, and we're GI physician backed by over 32 physicians who have invested today. We hope you'll join the cause.
Outstanding. Andy, would love to hear what thoughts you have.
Great. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Josh. That was great. Makes a lot of sense. And congrats on all you've achieved so far. You've had validation from some great groups already FDA approved. So I guess my question is, your FDA approval was back in 2021. What have you done since then, to really accelerate commercialization? And the underlying question is really, why is now the right time to invest? Not only, when we're looking at companies, we're not only thinking about how, what the market size is, how big they can be, but, why is now the right time to invest as opposed to the next round?
Yeah, great question, Andy. We received FDA breakthrough designation in 2021. It wasn't until the very end of 2023 that we received FDA clearance. So we just started commercializing in the early part of 2024, just to distinguish that. Sorry. In that time frame, we've had a very small team focused on really market development. So making sure that there is a positive reimbursement story, making sure that the technology is clinically acceptable in the marketplace. So we've really spent the last 18, 19 months really validating our technology. And again, making sure that reimbursement story makes sense. Now's the right time to invest because we're about to scale. Gen 1 was a good product. Gen 2 is a great product. And having been in the space for as long as our team has been, we understand how to bring medical devices to market. We've been part of organizations that have done this in GI. And we truly believe that Gen 2 accommodates all the things that we needed to do to make it a scalable product. So we're going to be releasing Gen 2 at the end of this year and beginning of next year. We're actually going to have a couple different SKUs that we're going to go to the market with. But by all indications, it's a product that we can scale more rapidly. We're going to use these funds to grow a sales team. We'd never grew a sales team previously. We knew we needed to get Gen 1 out to market first. We needed to, again, show some validation and some market traction so that when we raise monies to scale the team in a much larger sales team, we can get out there. So I hope that answers your question in regards to why now is the time.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thanks, Josh.
And Josh, one thing I will say that we were appreciative of seeing is the last 2 years you have generated $1.5 million in sales each year. So not only getting in market, you're getting the people to pay for it, and you're figuring out how to actually get into market and get folks to use it. So definitely a major step in the right direction, seeing that you are actually commercializing it, right? It's not just kind of out there and people are kind of using it, but they're not paying. There is real sales there, and excited that you're getting in with some large kind of preferred partners to start selling on your behalf as well. Couple questions from the crowd before we wrap up here and go on to the next pitch. What is the education needed to get GI doctors up to speed on using ultrasound? Is this being taught in residency now?
It's a great question. So endoscopic ultrasound requires a full fellowship year for a gastroenterologist. So typical fellowship is 3 years. That gives you basically general GI. You can go out and practice and do endoscopy, colonoscopy, EGD, et cetera. But if you want to be able to do endoscopic ultrasound, you need another year of fellowship. So the majority of the gastroenterologists really around the world don't do EUS because it requires this extra year. That's an interesting question because with some of the technologies that exist today that are out there, like AI, it's making EUS easier to learn. The problem is existing or legacy systems are too expensive. You can't put these scopes in the hands of every doctor because there's not enough equipment out there. And that's where we really change things. We believe in 5 or 10 years, EndoSound is actually going to be the technology that allows more physicians to learn on EUS because it's affordable. You can literally give them endoscopic ultrasound every time they do an upper endoscopy during fellowship. So we believe we will lessen the learning curve for physicians to be able to do EUS. And we believe that in the long term, EUS is going to become a mainstream procedure, just like colonoscopy. Today, it's not. There are 8 million EGDs done a year. There are only 700,000 EUSs. But we know that the EUS is a more thorough exam. We have to train more physicians. We have to get the technology in front of more doctors. And we feel like we can do that based on our price point and our ease of use.
Terrific. Last question here. And as we're wrapping up, we can bring Praveen onto the stage from Namecoach, who will be joining us for the next pitch. What is the cost per machine? And is there any other way you monetize the service as well?
Great question. So we use a razor blade model. We basically eliminate the barrier to capital by making it a very small capital expense. The capital expense is somewhere between $40,000 to $50,000, depending on that facility's volume. And then we have a razor blade model. They have to buy a single-use disposable that's used once and then thrown away. That disposable has incredibly high margins, about 95% right now. And as I mentioned before, transitional pass-through code actually reimburses our current sites for that single-use endoscopy. So the cost to our clients today, when they see a Medicare patient, for example, is literally zero. They do have that small cost of capital. We are working with commercial payers to see that they reimburse for this disposable as well. We're seeing some commercial payers follow suit. Some are paying better than others. But we do have a kind of hybrid small cost of capital and razor blade disposable model.
Terrific. Well, Josh, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Definitely go check them out on WeFunder.
Thank you.
All right, Praveen, you're up.
Great, thank you. Give me a moment to bring up my presentation. All right, thank you all can see it. Hi, everybody. My name is Praveen. I am the founder and CEO of Namecoach. So first, I just want to thank you all for being here today. I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to share how we're helping both people and AI turn everyday interactions into moments of meaningful connection and belonging, starting with one simple but consequential idea, which is that people love to hear their name said correctly. Now, you may not have heard of the voice conversation space, but it is an astoundingly big one, and it's just getting started. And to put it into perspective, Grammarly, which became a $13 billion business just by helping people write better, as the founder of Grammarly put it, just a little improvement in that space in writing has potential impact in the trillions. And yet, over your lifetime, for every one sentence you write, you'll speak 25. And the number of times people mispronounce names is a staggering 30 million times a day. So the solution is Namecoach. It's AI-powered audio pronunciation buttons and written phonetic spellings that are integrated into the tools you already use every day, making it way easier to learn and remember names. Now, this is seemingly just a feature, but we're already helping over 400 customers across many sectors have meaningfully better interactions for lots of different use cases, from helping with student experience at Stanford to creating a culture of belonging at Travelers to improving sales and customer experience at NetJets. And the key to our success is years now of award-winning data science, constantly leveraging the latest in AI and fine-tuning with the world's largest data set of user-curated name pronunciations, so you get the right pronunciation tailored to the person you're speaking with. And with just our first set of products, we're already at over 4 million in ARR, with gross margin above 90%, on par with best-in-class SaaS companies. And as we rapidly develop new products and features, like our recently launched Namecoach AI for Events product, which helps with names at graduation ceremonies, we have a clear strategic path to 5xing our revenue over the next 3 years. And this is perhaps surprising, but based on a bottoms-up analysis of our contracts and the ubiquitous demand we have across all kinds of use cases and sectors, there's an $11 billion annual opportunity here. Corporate HR buyers alone, as one example, they represent a $2 billion opportunity with closed annual contracts ranging from $5,000 to $100,000 a year, and contracts in the pipe ranging up to $2 million a year. All that said, we know that as things are quickly evolving in this new AI-first world, the key to creating value for our customers and users, and ultimately to multiplying enterprise value for our stakeholders, now lies in hard-to-replicate data pipelines and creating what we call virtuous product data cycles. So we already integrate with major platforms like Salesforce and Canvas. And as we become more ubiquitous across every category of communication tool, our users provide even more verification data, which trains our system to be the absolute best at name pronunciation, which then delivers even more value to users across more platforms, and that virtuous cycle continues. But it's not just these communication tools where we're getting demand. We've also had a ton of recent inbound interest from the voice AI space. So this is everything from voice AI applications to AI infrastructure platforms. And they're all telling us that voice AI systems getting names wrong has become a significant pain point for them. So this has recently become a huge opportunity for us as well. And I was actually just invited to present at IBM's AI Alliance to help with AI developers getting names right in the software that they're developing, the voice AI agents they're developing. And what's really cool, even more so, is that by solving this initial names problem, we become incredibly well positioned to help with voice interactions in general. So everything from teaching voice AI the right way to say cross-cultural phrases to, I get the right slide up here, to helping people make the proper cultural greetings. In this example on this slide, our future expanded AI is prompting a user to consider wishing someone they're about to talk with an Eid Mubarak because Eid is coming up. Now, I can't take credit for this kind of company strategy. It's one that category-defining companies like Grammarly have used to become undeniable market leaders in their spaces. And much like Grammarly went from a initial narrow focus on simple spelling and grammar to a much broader focus on writing excellence in general, we'll leverage our market position with Namecoach sitting everywhere that voice interactions occur to keep expanding our service offerings, enabling more meaningful and respectful and identity-aware communication for both humans and AI. Now, the team building this certainly includes some of the best and brightest from both academia and industry, but more importantly, we all share a deep commitment to this mission, to bettering how we connect with one another. We're proud to have seasoned investors backing us who've not only invested in truly iconic tech companies, but also believe in our vision and promise. And with that, I invite you to join us as well to help us build the future of more meaningful connections. Thank you.
Outstanding. Thanks, Praveen. Andy, would love to hear your thoughts.
Sure. Hey, Praveen. Thank you for that very interesting technology. I love the focus. So my question, as we look at investments, we have to strike a balance between two different things. Number one, love to see companies that have a very clear focus and a niche that they're tackling. The other side of the equation is when we see something that looks like a feature as opposed to a product, how do we know that that can't be easily replicated by some of those other platforms out there? And so I guess I'd love to hear more about how you're thinking of, I guess, spearheading the market with this name recognition concept, but expanding from there. What could the expansion and kind of big picture ultimately look like?
Yeah, so thanks, Andy. That's a great question. That's a question we've gotten often, really since the beginning of the company. It's a question I have for myself as well, right? Is this too niche? What's the future look like? How do we expand? What's the defensibility? So I'll pull up a slide just to kind of give you a sense, again, of where we see ourselves going. But to the first question around sort of defensibilities, it's just a feature to begin with. I will say that part of the reason I take Grammarly as an inspiration for us is because they face the same kinds of questions early on, right? Is this, helping with writing just a feature? In fact, it was a feature. In their instance, it was a feature of Google Docs and Microsoft Word, right? And so their strategy, I really do think, is very similar to ours, right? Which is to have a platform ubiquitous or platform agnostic tool, because unlike in their case, Microsoft Word or with Google Docs, their users wanted a writing tool that follows them around everywhere. So we're doing something similar with this name pronunciation feature, something that exists across different platforms. Second, similar to what they did, and this has all been accelerated actually by the rise of AI, but what was ingenious is that they used the data they were collecting across all these different platforms to make their specific niche, or to make their solution in that niche the best possible, best-in-class solution. And so we're doing something similar where, because we have data coming in from all these different pipelines, that helps with what is truly a difficult problem, name pronunciation, because there's 30 million names in the world, and typical, vocabularies outside of names is in the hundreds of thousands, right? So it's an order of magnitude difference for text-to-speech systems, voice AI systems, humans. In any case, for us, having that data coming in makes our system better than anything else. And so as I said, we kind of create this virtuous cycle, right? Where because we're better, we get more users, because as we get more users, that curates our data, become better. So that's on the name pronunciation side, again, very similar to Grammarly. And then the third is how do we expand? They expanded in their example from simple grammar and spelling to doing all kinds of things, style, for example, right, or content. In our case, we believe that we can expand into helping with verbal communication beyond just that first moment of getting the name right, but helping people create warm interactions by prompting them with information that would be useful in the conversation to basically build rapport, to show the person they're talking with that they understand their culture or want to understand their culture, understand their identity, things like that. I will also say that just in terms of the problem space, what we're seeing with respect to voice AI is that one of the last remaining kind of problems in computational linguistics is around getting from, say, 85% or 90% accuracy in recognizing phonemes or pronunciation to closer to 99 and 100. And we have been specializing for a long time in that long tail of very difficult idiosyncratic pronunciations and phonemes. And so we're finding now that our data is incredibly valuable to sort of help voice AI companies bridge that gap. And that goes beyond names. That goes for computational linguistic tools that's serving the space in general. So hopefully that answers your question, at least at a high level.
Yeah, no, that's great. Very exciting. Thanks.
Outstanding, Praveen. Thank you so very much. I really, really appreciate it. And last up here, we have Hidden Sonpal from Rise Robotics. Hidden, you are up. And Praveen, have a wonderful day. Thanks again for presenting today. And just one last reminder for folks, as Hidden comes on, definitely check out the Resources Center for all of the reports on all the companies here today. Hidden, so nice to see you.
Good to see you again. I just want to make sure that you're able to see the presentation.
Yes, we can see it.
Excellent. I'm Hiten Sanpal with RiseRobotics.com. We are a top-rated deal by WeFunder, 4.7 stars out of 5. I'm the new CEO of the company, joined 15 months ago, brought on board by the founder to take the company to the next stage of growth. The 4 founders of the company are still with the company. 3 of them went to MIT and invented the core technology that I'm going to talk about today. We have significant traction, 9.1 million in total revenues, over 20 patents, and we've raised $24 million. We're backed by the Engine, Techstars, Forte, Gates Corporation. I should have also put the Kingscrowd logo, Kingscrowd, and D3 VC. And the problem we're trying to solve is a problem of legacy heavy machinery. So legacy heavy machinery is outdated because it's dirty. There's a substantial amount of fuel consumed by heavy machinery. Much of that is wasted. A substantial portion of that turns into carbon dioxide and pollutes the environment. And then, of course, hydraulic oil that leaks and pollutes the soil. However, electrifying these machines is difficult because the hydraulic systems are very inefficient. So the battery costs are huge. This is where we come in. The founders of the company invented this new technology called Beltronics. And what they've done here is taken out the oil from hydraulic systems and replace it with belts and pulleys. That's what the inside of one of our cylinders looks like. And this technology is 3 times faster than hydraulics, 3 times more efficient, 3 times more durable, 20% lighter, has half the operating costs, has no fluids, and is 100% digital. It's also as strong as hydraulics. So not only does it enable electrification, but the other characteristics here also allow it to enable teleoperation and autonomy right out of the box. The first product that we delivered was called a common lifting device. This was developed under a contract for the Air Force. And most recently, the Army has expressed interest in it. We're currently in a $250,000 SBI with the Army to get this deployed and tested with the Army. We sold $1.5 million of these to the US Air Force. And what's exciting about this is it's 8 times lighter than the current product that the Air Force is using. What I found really interesting about this is the first product that reduced Rice's technology to practice. And so I was very confident when I joined the company that the Air Force had looked at it and evaluated the tech and said it was legit. So on the basis of that last product that we did, the Air Force awarded the company a $3 million contract to modernize their munitions handling unit. So what you see there is a handling unit that loads planes. In this particular case, it's loading the plane with a missile. That's just the arm. They liked it so much that we just got selected for another $3 million extension to the contract, where they want us to turn this into a full vehicle and demonstrate it in an operational environment. And on top of that, we're in conversations for another 1.75 million in contracts to advance this fully to production. 1,500 of these are expected to be replaced over the next 10 years at $200,000 a piece. This is also the world's strongest robotic arm. So we got into the Guinness Book in March for building this, which was really exciting for the team. Once we validated that technology, we basically shrunk it and made it small so that other people can evaluate it. This is a 1/10 the size of the cylinder that you saw in the previous product. And we recently started a pilot with an OEM in the oil and gas industry. We have 20 plus potential customers in the pipeline, but we're focused on oil and gas because A, it requires a ton of cleanup, and B, they use all of the characteristics of our technology. So we believe we can charge substantial margins for this product. We've also deployed this product into a lift gate. This is going to be our full product, not just a cylinder. We partnered with Anthony Liftgates to make this happen. This product, we're starting multiple contracts in Q4 of this year with this product. What's exciting about this is that it's twice as fast as a legacy system, which allows companies that use this product, primarily food and beverage industries, to add an additional stop every day, which is worth anywhere from $300 to $1,200 extra in revenue per day. And one other thing that's exciting about this business is that it's a recurring revenue business, kind of like a SaaS business, because 15% of lift gates are replaced every year. So once we acquire a customer, they'll keep buying lift gates from us. And so we can grow this business like we would grow a SaaS business. Our goal is to electrify the $550 billion heavy machinery market. We're starting with lift gates and components. Specifically in components, we're looking at oil and gas, which is an $11 billion submarket. This is our overall roadmap. We're already in production with the common lifting device, which was the first product that I showed you. We're in production now with components. We had our first sale about 2 months ago and our first deployment a month ago. And soon we'll be in production with our lift gate. The next thing on the docket is, of course, the material handling unit. And then eventually we intend to look at forklifts. Future use cases of our technology are exciting. We talked about teleoperation and autonomy, but we can also build perpetual unloading machines. We're 75% efficient. So anytime we unload something heavy, we end up charging the batteries, which means we need very small batteries. And for unloading missions, we can often run without recharging at all, 24/7, which is very exciting. Our goal is to be a unicorn in 5 years. We're going to do that primarily on the basis of our liftgate product. We think we can get to roughly 95 million in revenues in 5 years. And as I mentioned, it's a recurring revenue business, so very attractive for anyone to purchase. We see a lot of paths to exit. Companies that have transformed their industries through electrification command a huge premium in the market. And actuator companies have no shortage of buyers. So Flowserve went public for $8.2 billion. Ultra Industrial Motion was acquired by Regal Rexnord for $5.1 billion. And Rockwell Automation has been on a massive acquisition spree. They've acquired over 23 companies over the last 10 years. That's Rise Robotics. We are the #1 active raise across all Reg CF platforms. We're also the #1 Reg CF raise in the Boston area of all time. We've raised $3.7 million from 1,700 investors, and we hope you'll join our community.
Thanks so much, Hidden. Appreciate it. Andy, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this one.
Sure. Hidden, nice to meet you. Thanks for that presentation.
Thanks, Andy.
The use case here makes a lot of sense. I guess my question is around the history of the company. I was reading about the company, and you guys started back in 2011. And so I know you just joined fairly recently. What has changed over, I'll say, the past 2 years, besides you coming in, to give investors confidence that now is the right time to put money behind this company?
Yeah, so in April of last year, which is just before I joined, the company closed a major round, which we extended, of course, and offered the same terms to WeFunder investors. So when I joined the company had a significant interest from institutionals. There was a lot of confidence. and there was a substantial amount of cash in the bank. And so I joined to take the company to the next step. Up until my joining, the company was predominantly a research and engineering firm. They were working on many long-term projects. And shortly after I joined, I basically prioritized everything that was going to go to market in the next 6 to 18 months. And all the other projects were paused. I'll say that that's the major change, which is the change in strategy and the focus that I brought to the company around taking things to market. My past experience was at iRobot, where teams that I led shipped over 9 million units across 20 product lines and generated over $2 billion in revenue. So I'm the right guy for this company at this time. And that's why I think folks should invest.
Great. Thank you.
Terrific, Hidden. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for joining today and hearing out all of these pitches. If you like what you heard today, as a reminder, all of these are investments out of the Kingscrowd Capital Fund, all identified by our rating algorithm. I think these are some of the best-in-class founders that are actively raising capital in the market, and is a real testament to the fact that you can find exceptional investment opportunities in this market. And I feel proud to be able to share all of them with you. So thank you, everyone, for joining for this session. We look forward to having you on many more sessions and getting to see more companies this week. And Andy, thank you so much for being a part of this and for your thoughtful insights.
Thank you, Chris. Great being here.
Have a wonderful day, everyone. Take care.